What's up, everybody? I'm back again with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today's guest is Mr. Doug Buxton. He's a realtor here in Oklahoma with the brokerage I'm with, Copper Creek Real Estate. And he's an awesome guy that spends a lot of time in the backcountry. And today we discuss his recent adventure on the Colorado Trail. He bike packed about a little over 100 miles in a few days. And today we dive deep into, some of the prep and gear from that experience, but also what it was like to do it, the highs, the lows, and just really get to chat about the backcountry. It's an awesome episode. I enjoyed it a ton. I think you all will as well. And as always, keep going. Man, Doug, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming out here. And I know that we talked. And what's crazy is you were actually part of my first trial run when we met for coffee at Tabby to talk.
Okay.
And then you were telling me you're going on this trip. So I want to get into that, but I appreciate you coming out here. I know you're going to make me some coffee, so let's just dive into it, man.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Tell me what you got.
Anyways, I think
And give me some commentary. Let me know what you got.
You bet. So this is, of course, anytime you're backpacking, whatever, you want to have everything, everything in its own little bag, space, organization. I even tell people, especially when they're new, like, hey, we're talking about the poop kit.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, wait a minute, yeah, hey, it happens. Poop in the woods. So you want to have a kit. And then they have your own little poop kit. So this is like my little, this is my cook setup. So you have a fuel. This can be my stove, my coffee.
I like the smaller ones. I only have the big ones.
Yeah, it's very handy. So everything is niche, small. So
I've looked at this one. I like this brand. If you look on Instagram, the Snow Peak, you can get the algorithm and just go down the rabbit hole. But there's a lot of stuff in other countries where they have these just full little cook boxes and things like that.
There's a guy, he started his own company. So it's kind of like a little college company called Evolve.
Okay.
And I like his cook pot. In fact, that's the one I'm going to grab. I'm going to have to grab that one someday. It's
so different than this.
It's be the same material. It might be slightly bigger, but it has a lid with a wood handle because this stuff gets hot sometimes.
Yeah.
And I like that.
It has a wood handle?
It has a little wood handle because the thing is hot. I like how he thought about it. And so
because I'm always grabbing a bandana or something trying to.
Oh yeah, I hear you. So let me.
What kind of stove is this? 'Cause I have an MSR, but it's not that.
Yeah, the MSR Pocket Rocket that's a great stove.
That one's lighter?
This is the BRS 3000, whatever. It's really something, it's pretty inexpensive. I think most people just buy it on Amazon. I've had it for a long time. But what you have, I do like that one. I think it is a little more efficient. But this one, it's very reliable, does the job, and it's just ridiculous how loud it is. Let me make sure that's here. And
was that your phone or mine?
It was mine.
Oh, okay.
I can mute that.
No worries. All
right. So, all right. So we'll do this. Oh, yeah. We probably should pour some water in here.
I like them short, so
okay.
I'm going to measure it out.
All right. Nice.
I'll add a little bit more for the boil.
Cool. Yes. So I always make coffee in my tent. I don't really get out.
Is this a rag?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I wipe this?
Oh, help yourself. Yeah,
sorry.
Man, no.
I didn't want to have to go grab a towel. Might as well use your kit, man.
Yeah, do it all, right? So yeah, let's get this thing going here.
So for those who can't see, Doug is whipping me up some backcountry coffee at my desk. You'll hear the stove ripping.
All right, so I do this right in my tent. And here's the water.
Do you have to worry about the gas?
No. I mean, most backpacking tents have kind of like a little vestibule where you kind of throw your gear. I usually keep all my gear in. I leave my shoes in the vestibule, and I don't. I try to be really good about not having any scented stuff. But it's coffee, so coffee's in my tent.
Oh, you said you already had the coffee though, right?
Yeah, where's that bag? Here it is. Yeah, we should pull that out.
And for those listening, this elemental coffee, it's called Vaquero, and it's instant coffee, and it's some of the best instant coffee I've had.
Really good. Me too. I've had so many others, and you can spend so much money on this stuff. And I mean,
and it's solid because it's tea bag shaped,
right?
And it's a good amount of coffee.
Yeah. And I think the directions say kind of steep it, but I just I steep it and I'd let it sit and drink my coffee with it, and it was having more flavor.
I liked it that way, and I would just cut the string off and throw it in my Yeti cup.
Oh, there you go.
We went on a fishing trip
for the day. Yeah, I talked to someone who, when last time I was buying it, she buys a safe up when she travels. She has that, so she's got coffee with her on the go.
But the boil time's pretty quick too.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, gosh, that's probably hot enough for coffee.
That's hot enough.
Yeah,
Let's get it.
All right, go get this.
And the reason my wife said when you got here, like, oh, it's different for once, is because literally I was at a real estate conference, the OKC Evolve.
Yeah.
And me and my friend Jesse, he was like, man, I want an espresso. I was like, if you do, come to my Jeep. And I made an espresso in the back of the Jeep, and it was just like this.
Oh, I love it. Oh, it's awesome.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Oh, you bet. All right, so you're good to go there, man.
Perfect.
Just sit this over here.
Oh, man. So it really is nice because usually I'm the one, like, when people show up, I'll make them an espresso or a coffee or whatever they want. And for you to come in ready like that means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. When
I
I
like
was
to be treated.
ready for this trip, I was constantly just testing stuff because I never bike packed. I would throw gear and go on a ride and see how everything's ride, because it was new for me. I always backpacked, and that I know what to do. All that's familiar, but this was new. So I would do some rides with guys and like, hey, when we get back, we're going to make coffee. and brought snacks and stuff. And I was try different coffees too. And so it was kind of fun.
So what's the trip officially? What was it called? The trail you did?
The CT, the Colorado Trail.
Okay.
So it goes from Denver to Durango. It's roughly a little over 500 miles. Most people go of Sobo, so southbound. Most people start in Denver, go to Durango, and most people who would do it probably most time are attempting to do the whole thing in one trip. But you meet loads of people, really, just like us. Hey, I can't be gone for a month or so, but I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna be gone a week. I'm gonna be gone 2 weeks, and let's see how far I get.
A long time.
It is. So if you're hiking it, it takes most people a month. If you're bike packing it, I think often about 2 weeks or so.
Okay.
You meet some insane people who, guys on a mountain bike do it in days. And I'm just like,
never stop.
I met two guys and I'm on day 2. And what they did in one day, I was impressed with these are athletes. Like, even if I had a motor on my bike, I don't know if I could have done what they did. I was on day 1 because we had the greatest chat. And I was like, man,
do you see quite a few people there when you're
a lot of hikers, more hikers, lots of people solo, lots of people in pairs, and all ages too. I mean, I saw a girl, she looked like she was just out of high school or something, and she's been going solo, and she was going Nobo, so she started Durango, and I met a few guys in kilts. That was fun.
Like they were wearing kilts?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I thought, man, that looked a little warm because it was, it got a little warm during the day.
But I guess they were using it as a blanket too at night, or
I don't know. But man, that's how they stood out,
Mm-hmm.
And so they were finishing up. So I saw, of course, more backpackers than people on bike. I only saw 2 other guys who were bike packing.
Okay.
So
what was the distance you chose to do?
So my hope, I was going for 200 miles. I was trying to go from Denver to Leadville.
Okay.
My truck was parked at a hostel in Leadville.
And you get dropped off in Denver?
And yes, so I hired out kind of like I'd call it a shuttle, and kind of like Uber for the mountains.
Okay.
And she called service Katie's Cab, and so she picked me up in Leadville and dropped me off at the trailhead. And she told me, if you get in trouble or something happens, reach out to me. I can get you, but you got to get to a trailhead. So
but she could pick you up.
I carried one of these for the first time, and this actually was really nice.
And what is that? The satellite?
It's a Garmin InReach Mini.
That's the one I see most people talk about.
Yes, this one is handy. It's small, and
let me see.
Yeah,
it's pretty light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and so you can set it to different, sitting at your kind of location every so often. I think 10 minutes is maybe. I show it to 20.
So it marks your location every 20 minutes.
Like before, I was testing it because I've never used one of those before, and I had it set to 1 hour, and we're like, okay, we probably need to do more than that. And my wife, she said she clocked me one time. She said it showed you going 21 miles an hour. I know there one time, or actually several times, you're always like you're going uphill or walking or riding. But man, I experienced some downhills. Like I knew I would.
Flying.
But yeah, once I was like, oh, this is real. I was telling her I needed all the bling on my bike.
Yeah.
Every gear, everything my bike had, I needed it.
And you can call on this?
No. So every 20 minutes, this will send out my location, and then we can just text.
Okay, at least you can text.
Yes, and then I can SOS, and it even has they call them check-ins, which you can do unlimited, because some of the communication will cost you more, like the messaging. And then you can SOS unlimited. And what I learned about SOS, just because you press the SOS doesn't mean helicopters are coming your way. That always mean it maybe someone's coming by foot, by other means of transportation. Yeah. Or sometimes maybe like you were able to just do communication from SOS, you're able to self-care and be able to get to, a recovery area yourself. So,
that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then, so you got your coffee kit, you got your satellite. What's this? Is this your bear spray?
Yeah. And I've never carried bear spray, but since I was going solo, I was trying to,
you want to have something.
Yeah. And so really when you talk to a lot of Colorado natives, most people, I'm going to go, it's not going to do anything if I just pull this out. But most people who live in bear country, they're fans of this stuff. I feel you hear people say, well, bring a gun. But I think if anything's charging at you, I would think you're probably going to miss anyways. If you do, you might just piss it off or something.
Well, and you're going to be ringing your own ears.
Yeah.
Because how loud it is. So it may kind of disorient you.
So, anyways, a lot of people who live in bear country are fans of stuff. The projectile shoots like 30 feet. It's a big, massive spray.
That's a lot better for under pressure.
Yeah, there you go, because you're under pressure. But a great thing to have. And so I didn't even have it on this stuff. I just reached out to a friend who has extra gear, and I borrowed his. So, but yeah, I grabbed some bear spray. And then...
Yeah, run me through your gear.
Okay, so I did bring... So when you backpack a lot...
Yeah.
People will call it their sleep system. Hey, everyone and it's a personal thing. Everyone has their own sleep system. So I have gone to love using a backpacking quilt. So the best way to describe a backpacking quilt, imagine a sleeping bag where the zipper portion, all that is gone. It's just not there. It's just kind of like...
It's just like a blanket almost.
It is. Think it is like, like when you sleep in your bed, most people have a comforter, a big heavy blanket, and that's exactly what that is. And then you pair that with a sleeping pad that provides insulation. And then something I love using this is called it's just a liner. It feels like a t-shirt material.
Those are huge. I don't know if people understand how big it is when you're in a camping situation to have something thin and soft.
I love a liner. So my combination is I have my pad, which provides the warmth. Mm-hmm. I get my liner because it feels like I'm kind of like sleeping in your own bed, and you'll sleep better. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, I have a tiny little backpacking pillow.
I know people like the gear. What type of quilt is it?
So that is Outdoor Vitals. I guess you call them a cottage company, but they're growing.
And cottage company means a smaller company?
Yeah, like a small mom and pop shop. A lot of times a cottage company, it started out someone's garage or just like your home office like this. And it just blew up to something bigger. So you have a combination of your pad, a little pillow, and a liner and that. And
what pad do you like to use? Do you like the fold-up ones or the inflatable?
I love the Nemo. Oh my God, I'm forgetting when it's made by Nemo. It's my favorite pad. I always rave on it.
But so that's an inflatable one.
Yes, it is.
Do you inflate it with the sack, or do you have to blow it up?
So it comes with the sack, and I love the whole gear stuff. So there's a company called Flex. Is it Flexlight or Flextail? They make a poor little pump. I know it sounds a little silly. Like you brought like a little pump, but it's the tiniest thing.
Well, you want to save time and energy.
Well, what happens is if you use your pad a lot and you're blowing in, you're actually putting moisture inside your tent.
That's true.
I'm not your pad, which can actually cause it to grow mold and all that stuff. And stuff isn't cheap. So if you baby it, take care of it, your stuff will last forever. So the Nemo Tensor Light, that's what I use as my pad.
I never thought of that because I use a Thermarest pad that you blow up, not the fold out. Maybe I need to get a pump because I blow it up, but I've only used it in the winter, so I don't know how much moisture.
Right. And I feel like that's probably the thing. If you
live on it,
you backpack a lot. Like, an example, like a through hiker.
Okay.
That's kind of where I feel like I've heard it is more the through hikers. And it's probably, of course, how well do you store your gear, kind of thing. So,
what are some options on storing the sleeping pad? Do you store them rolled out, or do you keep them rolled up?
No, my sleeping pad. I mean, I just make sure it's all clean, and I just roll it up. Now that I store that in this big bag. I don't store, because I have that, and I have another like a backpack sleeping bag, and I don't store those compressed, because what that does, it breaks things down, and then it doesn't work for you like it should.
Okay.
So
that's good to know. I probably need to go to my garage and undo mine.
Yeah, I know. Most people, when you think, I just keep it in the bag it came in, but you want to have, I guess, it shouldn't be compressed all tight. Mm-hmm. So,
what kind of tent was it? A one man or?
No. So I have the MSR. It's got a funny name to it. It's called the MSR Hubba Hubba. It's been around for a bit, and it's a 2-man backpacking tent. And believe me, I've had several times where it's me and someone else, or I've been on trips where someone's tent fell, and I'm like, okay, well, you're crashing with me now. And so, it's doable for 2 people, but man, if you're just by yourself, it's amazing. You can,
sprawl out,
strip down, yes, get yourself cleaned out, you have all your gear in there, and it's quite comfy. And so I actually, here, speaking of Nemo, I really would love to get, Nemo comes out with one where it's a bike packing tent. And it packs down a little bit smaller. It's maybe even a pound lighter than my tent.
Okay.
But it could kind of do best of both worlds. Like it could be, because a bike packing tent, the poles are they're not as long. They fold down a little smaller, which would be nice.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of nice to have, a tent that helps you for your bike packing needs as well as your backpack stuff. So
on your, I want you to walk me through your journey, but before, on the backpacking side, what's a weight you try to stay around?
Yeah, so when on this backpacking thing, I didn't think so much about the weight because it was a first, but generally when I'm backpacking, I feel like I'm usually one of the lighter ones in the group.
And is that because you cut certain stuff out, or you're buying good gear that's lighter, or
so
a combination?
It's both. I mean, you want to be very conscious where you take in, but take what you need. And then I think it's always good. I've done this several times. We're going on trips and you have someone new. It's like, okay, break out your gear. We were doing this with one guy who kept complaining about his weight. I'm like, well, let's look at this. What do you got packed? And we found like a dust broom inside of his. He's like, well, I want to keep my tent clean. We kind of laughed. It's like, no, you don't need that. You don't need the big Rambo knife. All those things. Most people who do this a lot, their knife, they may just have like a little Swiss Army pocket knife. And so you're very purpose in what you think about. But once you've got your gear dialed down, your sleep system, your shelter, and what you're taking, clothing wise, like for example, I'll have the same thing on every day. I'll have an extra pair of socks on me and, maybe a different shirt to slip on at night. That way, so that's an extra pair of socks and another shirt. Usually that's when merino wants something like that. Merino wool material is great to have in as your sleep system.
Yeah.
But no, so once you kind of have your base weight dialed in, and I'm not like ultralight or anything like that with all that's out there.
Well, I like what you said, take what you need, because there is a balance.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with comfort. Like when I backpack, I mean, now I take a backpacking chair because, man, walking all day, I'm happy to take that extra weight of that chair, but that's my choice.
Because you want to be able to sit flat.
Yeah.
Not sit flat, sit down instead of laying flat.
Yes. And so, man, I'm a fan of those. And then what you'll be surprised, what I feel like takes a while, and everyone has their own kind of what they like, is the food becomes quite a deal, because man, your food adds some weight. It adds more weight than you think.
I would imagine.
And so, anyways, I think once you get into it, at first most people were thinking of like the MRE type meals, the freeze-dried stuff. Mm. But there's a lot of things you can find at the grocery store that can get you by. For example, on this trip, A lot of my breakfasts was just tortillas and like a peanut butter in a pouch and some Nutella. And that was it. That was breakfast and coffee.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, but that can really get you a long way.
yeah.
I mean, it really can. And when you're talking about food, something my wife and I do, we want to get a freeze dryer, but we have a dehydrator.
Yeah.
And we'll dehydrate a bunch of vegetables and then get some type of higher quality noodle or rice or something like that. Yes, you want it to be dehydrated, but you don't want something just like real bad, like chemical type stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll get like a higher quality thing. But with the broths and the dehydrated vegetables, you'll be surprised how full you can be off these things.
Yeah, and get really creative. That's one thing I love to talk about food, because everyone has that's usually where I feel like I learn the most. I went on a trip with a friend where he's like, hey, I'll take care of dinner. And man, we had like the best bean burritos out there on the trail. And he carried instant rice. And then he got these freeze-dried beans that he got at HB in Texas.
Is that what you were talking about last time? Was that the beans?
Well, I didn't take that this time. I took beans. They were already kind of cooked in a pouch.
Okay.
Then, honestly, I couldn't eat them this time. It was weird. I've never had this happen to me, but every night, I don't know if I was just too exhausted or what, but I felt like I was going to throw up if I had anything to eat. It was.
So you're just hydrating more than anything?
It was weird. Yeah. I'm so, here, I would think I'd be hungry. I normally am hungry, but this go around, and it happened like every night. I couldn't eat. I don't explain. It was weird. Someone says, maybe because you had, you'd worked so hard and exhausted yourself, there were just, I don't know, the blood is working everywhere else. I don't know, but
Well, that does happen, because some days when I train and have a long day of work and have something else to do, by the time it's time to eat, my body's almost too tired to eat.
Yeah.
So it's like exhaustion.
I just want to drink more water.
Mm-hmm.
And so here.
How do you go about your water? You have a filter?
Yeah. So I didn't bring any of that. So, Sawyer makes really good.
That's where you squeeze it on the water bottle and squeeze through, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I use this thing it's made by CNOC. It's like a big open bag, real easy to scoop water. I mean,
I've seen that. Yeah.
Once you grab that, you're like, oh my gosh, how did I have this before? And so that you can actually screw to your Sawyer and then fill in your bag.
That's where you see them roll it to squeeze the water through? Okay.
I didn't take a Sawyer system this time. I took a Catadine because I knew where I was going. There was so much just like kind of fresh water streams. And so I used the Catadine, which is
Catadine.
It comes with its own bag, and it actually has a faster water flow than the Sawyers.
Okay. But it's a filter?
It looks like a water bottle in a way, but with a little flexible water bag instead of a holder.
A bottle.
Yeah, bottle, yeah. And so I had my CNOC so I can grab loads of water and then just kind of take care of my water. And I always get reminded how, man, sometimes when you're just on trail and you're trying to keep going, when you have to stop and get water, that always takes longer than you think. I always anyways, it just does. I like, man, I wanted to keep going, but I would probably need the break anyways.
Yeah, it probably teaches you some patience too. Relax, take a break.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're hiking or anything like that, you can find yourself overdoing it.
Yeah.
Where you're just pushing.
And that can, I know that's me. I know sometimes I just want to keep going. And so.
And was it hot? Because it was warm here.
Well, yeah.
But I know you're in the elevation. So.
Yeah, it was hot. I mean, I think Colorado, they call it the high desert.
Yeah.
So, it's a little drier heat, but yeah, it was warm. And one thing you have to remind, anytime you're at higher elevation, it's like that sun is more intense. It's easier to get sunburned, all that mess. But what I did, I had my helmet on and I just put that sunscreen in my face because I wore arm sleeves. I wore a buff, which I love wearing a buff. Man, anytime I'm on a trail.
Whether it's hot, cold, I always
If it's hot or cold, I have a buff. And they have so many great uses. So I didn't really need sunscreen anywhere but my face.
Which I've enjoyed more, the more outdoors stuff I get into, is being protective more than having to sunscreen everything, because the sunscreen protects you, but you're also getting all those rays of heat to where when you do have a long sleeve on or something like that, one, the sweat can sit on you a little bit.
Yeah.
So when the wind hits you, it'll cool you off. but then the sun's not just baking you, because even with sunscreen, you're getting tan.
Yeah. Like I felt a little cooler because I forgot to put the sleeves on the day one and I put them on and I was like, man, I should have done this earlier. Like now what's real big in the whole outdoor world is everyone's making a sun hoodie. I don't care who it is.
I
Big
wore
companies,
one in Arizona.
and they're like all the rave. And
I love them.
And honestly, I haven't bought one yet because I'm still haven't decided. There's a company called Evolve who I do like theirs. Theirs is mostly merino wool. And it's got like a zipper to it. Kind of breathes, and I just kind of like that one. But like, man, there's.
I mean, I just got a cheap one from Target, and we went to hike in Sedona, and we also hiked in the Grand Canyon, and we also hiked around Phoenix. All three times, different heat levels.
Yeah,
but all three times I had that hoodie on, just because keeping that sun off you,
right?
And being able, I like to wear a bucket hat or something, to keep it off my ears, to be able to slide that thin hood that's not making you hot to hold your hat down.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, and when I was on trail, I definitely saw some, which, gosh, I wish I remember where he got it from, but I saw him was talking about it. It's like, man, I like your sun hoodie hat. Where'd you get it? And
yeah,
of course,
that's probably a cool way to converse with folks, is because you all, like you said, you all are kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you have? What do you have? What do you like?
For real.
What advice do you have? Because whether it's business or life, that experience is what's going to help. So him saying, hey, you don't need, or you telling that guy, you don't need the dust broom.
Yeah.
Like that goes a long way.
Yeah.
When you got dropped off in Denver?
So the Waterton Canyon area.
So is that west of Denver?
It's south. It's south of Denver. You're kind of in that Denver metro, but you're outside of Denver.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's outside Denver. It's like a kind of like a canyon area.
How many days was it?
I was on trail 4 days.
Okay, take me through the days, man. I was day one.
Yeah, so day one I got dropped off, and it was around 9ish. I think at 10 o'clock I was officially like pedaling. And so the Colorado Trail starts on, it's more kind of like a dirt road area, but public cars are like, I think it's only like utility vehicles are allowed to go down this. So it starts up to 6 miles on this road, and you're just taking off. And I was hoping to see a lot of sheep and stuff out, because a lot of it there, you'll see that a lot. And anyway, so you get 6 miles on that, and it's a bit of a climb. So you start off with like, all right, we're in the mountains, so let's do it. So you got to just embrace the elevation. So at the end of 6 miles is when it starts single track.
Okay.
And so once you begin the single track, then you start to climb more. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's when it hit me. I'm like, I knew I was going to have to do a lot of hike a bike. Like, I knew that.
What's hike a bike?
Basically, you're walking with your bike.
Oh, because it's just too hard to.
Yeah. At least it's too hard for me.
Well, yeah, but it's trying to stand up and balance. It's probably more safe to.
A lot of times where I probably could have rode, it just kind of felt more relaxing just to walk my bike, to be honest.
When you're by yourself and there's no rules.
Yeah, it's just me. I'm not like in a race. So
no, it's whatever you want to do.
So you
start hike-a-biking.
Yep, I did a little hike-a-bike, and then you get riding, and it was kind of off and on of hike-a-bike and then walk. And then there's some fun areas on the trail that was kind of fun on the bike. And so I felt like, man, a good portion, half that day, just felt like all I was doing was just climbing, constantly climbing.
What elevation were you at, you think, when you started?
I think you start like at 5,000 or 6,000 feet.
And you're probably getting up to 8.
I think I got over 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I would imagine.
Anyway, so then I knew good and well, Chris, you're in the mountains, so you're going to be going down. What's up?
At some point.
You're going down. And, here in Oklahoma, we don't have downhills like they do there. And I got to experience some good technical downhills. Like, I knew there'd be some downhill riding. I just never thought about it could be technical. And so
you were probably all over the brakes.
I felt it was good. It was fun, but it was also like, I don't want to crash kind of a thing. But honestly, I never crashed. I felt really confident on my bike. And
how many miles did you get that first day before you stopped?
Man, day one, I did over 20 miles day one.
Okay.
I was really, honestly, I had this goal of like, man, if I could do 50 miles a day, that would be amazing.
Yeah, because that's your 200, right?
It'll be 200. That never happened.
50 is a lot of weight.
It is. It is
a lot of miles, not weight.
I think I did 20 some miles day one and met a lot of amazing hikers. I did,
On the first day.
on the first day, I did segment one and, and finished segment two. And as you're finishing segment two, there's like a firehouse and they allow hikers to use their outside water spigot, which that was nice. So, man, it was so great that way. Done felt like having to deal with, going to the water filters, got to fill my water up real fast. And so,
Where'd you choose to camp that first night?
Just to run segment three.
And so you're on that single track. Do you just say, oh, I like this spot and take 2 steps back, or do you go deep into the trees, or what do you do?
I think it's like, I feel like where you feel like you feel safe. That's how I look at it. I was at a point, I'm like, okay, I think it's time to go ahead and look for.
Is that because the sun's going down? Are you trying to do it early enough so it's not dark on you? What do you mean feel safe?
I feel safe where I'm not right on trail, but I feel like I've got an area where it's flat. Mm-hmm. And I also can hang my food up. I usually do a bear hang.
Yep.
And so where I felt like, okay, I can hang my food in this area, have time to do all that stuff. I hiked later than I thought that day. I don't think I stopped till like 8 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So I started at 9 in the morning or 10, whatever. And
then
until
what
8.
about your setup? Does that take a while, or it was pretty easy?
No, it's pretty easy. I mean, honestly, I was looking forward to that. It's kind of nice.
Well, that's the cool part.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time in my tent. I was listening to audiobooks, so just a way to kind of just really like wind down and relax. But what really got me is here, I know we talked about it, how I didn't want to eat. And just like really surprised me. Like food didn't sound good. I just want to drink more water.
Well, sometimes that's good for your body too. There's positives to fasting.
Yeah, I agree. I tried taking a bite, and I took one bite, and I felt like if I keep going, it's all going to come out. I didn't want to do that.
No, because you'll lose more.
Yeah. So I just shut it down. Like you're right, I just listened to my body. And
so what time you wake up day 2? Do you do natural, or do you set an alarm?
No alarms.
Just when you wake up.
Yeah, and honestly, cool. Man, I slept so good.
I bet the first night.
Like it was really nice. And the next morning, I think that picture I sent you of the coffee setup.
That was day 2?
I think that was day 2.
Okay.
Because it was the first time I had this coffee, and I was impressed. Like, man, this doesn't suck.
It's surprising.
Yeah.
I told you I went on a fishing trip, and that was the first time I tried it, and I was like, huh.
This is not bad.
Yeah, my dad's like, I'm gonna run into Love's. I was like, enjoy it. I'm good.
Yeah.
This elemental one is good. I hope they come out with new flavors.
Right.
So day 2, you wake up, you have your coffee and the tortilla with peanut butter.
Yeah. Did my all kind of set up, eat breakfast and join coffee. And honestly, I just took my time because I knew.
That's the beautiful part.
Yeah. There's, that's what the beautiful thing about getting away is like your phone doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Like I would check and see if I have cell things. I'm just curious, but I never had any cell signal. I don't think most of those 4 days, I never had anything.
Which is important to every human being to separate.
Yeah.
But, man, in real estate, for your phone not to work for a little while.
That's amazing.
Oh, my gosh. And, of course, there's a balance because we do this for a living. But when it doesn't work for 3 days, like when I would go hunt in southeast Oklahoma, and it would only work. Mm-hmm. The funny part is it would only work in this field that we had to drive to. So at night, the group would go there to call their wives and say, good night, I'm safe. It was so nice to not have it.
Yeah.
So you take off on day 2.
Yeah.
You're running into hikers doing that. What's day 2 look like?
Yeah, day 2 is cool because I like a little, kind of like a Cliff Note guidebook of the trail of what to expect and this and that.
That's awesome.
And that one said this next segment I was about to go on is popular for mountain bikers, which I'm like, yes, because segment 1 was hard, but segment 2 just sucked on a mountain bike. Segment 2 was nothing but, I felt like the thing started on an incline 2,000 feet on pea gravel. And I'm like, how can you ride on this? So yeah, that one. So I was looking forward to that. And that one that was fun on mountain bikes. I mean, awesome. Yeah, I was like flying and lots of dips and not a whole lot of hike-a-bike.
And feeling safe. That's important.
Yeah.
Because when you do some of those off-road trails, they can get pretty scary.
Yeah. And so, and of course I'm seeing other mountain bikers just out doing their, just day rides.
Do some people talk, some people don't?
Yeah.
I would think they would be like that.
Most people are really quite chatty, and I think it's easy to strike conversations on trail.
Yeah, because you all are both going through the suck. But it's beautiful. Like, I'm not saying it sucks to do that, but you're hard work and you're putting it on your body.
Yeah, it's like, I gotta call it type 2 fun or something.
Yeah, where you think, like you said, you needed a couple days to decompress because you were so exhausted after.
Yeah. So, so day 2, good. It was fun. It was definitely, because I ended day 1, it's just a hard, kind of a segment 2. 3 was just fun. And then that day, I even met up with someone who I think they were just out camping, and she was on she had an e-bike.
Oh, cool.
And she was out for a day ride, and then she just ended up riding with me for a portion.
That's awesome.
And that was fun. So
isn't that interesting about not just outdoors, but travel in general, but we'll stick to the backcountry. They're only in your life for that segment.
Yeah.
And it's so fulfilling. Like, you don't have to know that person forever.
Right.
It's just like, hey, we rode together. Bye. Like, sometimes it happens to me on my motorcycle. You'll be riding and you'll end up getting with someone in traffic. And some bikers don't like to be close to other bikers because you don't know how people ride.
Yeah.
But sometimes you'll get someone you can just feel it. And then you all will ride for 20 miles and then just part ways.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, you're on a motorbike, so you can't really chat, right?
No, not on a motorcycle.
Okay.
No, but sometimes I'll find myself because I do some longer trips sometimes, not super long, just a couple hours.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes you'll ride next to someone for 10 or 20 miles.
Oh, cool.
Fist bump them and take
I didn't
off.
know that. Oh,
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah. Well, something I'm big on is positivity, obviously. And I feel like when you have good intentions, most of the time good things come to you.
Yeah.
Like if I roll up to a stoplight and my energy is chill and I just fist bump you and we take off riding, they're probably going to be doing the same.
Yeah.
Same with that lady.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is you all can chat. So that gives you a lot of mental stimulation to push through the hard work of it.
Right.
So day 2, do you hit your 20-something miles and then you just pull over at the same late time, or did you stop early or what?
Man, so day 2 is, so when you do the Colorado Trail, there are areas where bikes aren't allowed. And so on day 2...
Do you have to walk it at that time, or it can't even be there?
Yeah, no, it's just like bikes are not allowed, and so they have detours. And so instead it could have been a 14-mile segment, I had to do a 69 mile, detour. Okay. But I knew that going ahead. And the bonus though is towards the end of this detour, you run into this, they said it was like a ghost town, but to me, I just saw a few houses. And so they call it a stage top saloon. And it was
actual people out there?
Yeah. And so towards the end of that segment, that detour, you hear Stage Top Saloon, which that was cool. Didn't expect that. But no, so day 2, I'm on the detour, and most of the detour is really like kind of like a dirt road. But I passed this area, I think it was called Wellington Lake. And I mean, it was beautiful. It was like you're at over 7,000 feet in this lake reservoir. Yeah, like I took a picture of my phone, but I took 2 because I thought there's no way I'm going to do this justice for what I'm seeing. It was just loads of people out there on paddle boards and fishing, whatever. It was just such a cool area. And so, so do that. And then really along the dirt road, I'm passing so many just like camping spots. And so where I'm gathering my water, was the area was beautiful. It dipped down. It was like a rushing, lots of rushing water by, and grab my water, had good chats with just people out there.
Oh, that makes me think with the water. Are you just wiping down? Are you just not bathing? What's the hygiene there?
Yeah,
because I used to use those, it's not dude wipes, but something like that.
Yeah.
Where you can at least wipe off. I've got some thicker ones that I like to use.
So I did that on this one. I normally I guess because on this trip, I've never sweated so much like I did. Like, I've never had to think about taking like electrolytes on a trip before. But it's just this, I was sweating so much. So yeah, I did.
What did you do for your electrolytes? Those new tablets?
I did the Noons because I love fizzy water. And so...
they're the easiest as far as packability too, because it's like 8 tablets in one tube.
Yeah.
Something else I've liked, and this will be good for you to add to your bag, is trace minerals.
Okay.
So they have skinny packs that are just the minerals and electrolytes, right? But then they have another one, and these are the ones I've got more addicted to. They have salt and coconut water, powdered coconut water in them.
Oh, cool.
So it's the same thing as far as the Nuuns.
Yeah.
But then it has salt, and you
Okay.
can taste it. So it really helps.
Oh, nice.
It really helps.
But yeah, I had just different brands because I've never really, I haven't really had a whole lot of the electrolyte stuff. But there was this one brand, I can't remember what it was called. I think I got it at the natural grocery store, but
That's what I got
it
mine.
was actually really good stuff.
But it's surprising how much so like when I'm doing the outdoor stuff, I'll do those Nuun tablets, and sometimes I'll even throw 2 in one water bottle because I just want that extra fizz.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how satisfying it is till you're out there struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the reason why I bought the Nuun, because I knew it'd be fizzy. It was kind of nice.
It's nice.
It was like a break, but
It's a nice treat.
yes. No, for real.
What about that camping that night? So you pass the saloon, you get past segment 3, you just pick a place to camp and start for day 3, or?
Yeah, so night 2, man, I got pretty far. I think it was a little later, but
So you were going into the evening time.
oh yeah.
Quite
In
a
fact, the second night when I decided, like, okay, I think I'm done now. I'm gonna try to find a place to camp. It took a while, like
To find a place.
yeah, like I found a spot, and it was like a little spot, had a beautiful outlook. I was like, oh man, that'd be amazing. But it was real small, and there were already 2 tents. I'm like, okay, there's not enough room for me. And so,
And
I
you
did
want the privacy if you're on a trail.
yeah, and I could tell, I was pretty sure the 2 people that had ran them, and I didn't want to bother them. I knew they were probably bedding down for the night. So
And you got to make noise, make your stuff.
yes, I eventually found a spot, and there were people camping like below me where I was at, and so
That's a question I have. Is it annoying to hear people talking when you're trying to get that peace of time, or you just kind of move over it?
well, I mean, we were always spaced far enough. Honestly, I really couldn't hear them.
That's cool.
Even though, I mean, when I say I could see them, but they like,
Yeah, near those mountains, they could be hundreds of yards away.
yeah, like they couldn't hear me, I couldn't hear them, but at least I could see them. And
I
so
bet that makes gives you a little sense of security too.
night 2, it was kind of cool because where I was at, it was funny. I never really, honestly, I'm never really concerned or worried about wildlife, because honestly, wildlife wants to leave you alone. But along this whole detour, I kept seeing this is a bear area. And so honestly, that was kind of nice that there were people kind of near me. I've seen that, because my third night on trail where I slept, man, there wasn't anyone around me, nowhere near. I mean, that was really, really remote, but I didn't ever feel unsafe,
It's
I don't know.
interesting. So you kind of have to, one, trust God and yourself that you're going to be okay. But something I noticed, my wife and I hiked Wheeler Peak in New Mexico. I would recommend you check that out.
That's a great one. I've friends done that.
It's
He's done that
beautiful.
one several times.
We didn't go to the top. It was quite a ways.
Yeah.
I think we went to 11,000 feet, but at the peak's like 14,500. So we didn't go that high. But we get there, no one's there. We're hiking, enjoying it, right? It's starting to storm, so we go back down, and we're leaving. And there's this sign knocked over. I was like, I wonder what that says, because it was a big-ass sign. I mean, it was like the size of this desk. I lift it up. It says, due to recent fires, mountain lion sightings have exponentially increased in this area. Be on high alert. All these things.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, wow. Like, one, you're like, well, what would have happened if I would have read that first? We would have left.
Yeah.
But we still got to experience this beautiful snow hike.
And since you didn't know, you
were
weren't
fine.
scared. Yeah.
So it's interesting how that works, because
Yeah.
some people would say, well, you're just dumb because it could just happen to anybody. It's like, yeah, but you also want to live, and there's animals around. So I see what you mean with, like, most of the time they're going to want to leave you alone.
Yeah.
And if they are coming for food, it's not because they smell you. It's because they smell that, and then you may startle them.
Yeah.
I don't think a mountain lion, and I may be wrong, but I don't know if a mountain lion's just hunting for a human. He's probably smelling the food and the scent and then coming to it.
And most time, like, we're so loud, especially me, I was on a bike, they could hear me. It's like
They could hear you 4 miles ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so they want nothing to do with you. So,
So day 3, were you a little nervous with the bear signs and then no one around, or no?
No, so that day 3, where
Or night 3.
night 3 where I ended up, there was, I was, in fact, that's the night where, that was probably it was around 5-ish that I stopped hiking, but
A little earlier that day.
the only reason I did is because it started to rain on me. And I didn't know if it looked like it was about to do like a hard downpour.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I could set my tent up, kind of like set your shelter and then set the tent, like kind of doing it backwards.
Yeah. So put
and
like
I knew
the tarp over the top.
Yeah. So I knew I could do that, and I've never done it before, but that's what I did. And I was so glad.
I have a question real quick. On those tarps, are you using bank line and like doing certain type of knots, or are you like me where you're just winging it?
No. So this backpacking tent, it's it all ties together. There's no,
you don't have to tie to a tree.
Right. There's none of that mess.
Oh, wow.
Now on mine, so for my vestibules to kind of work well, I do have to have a stake for those.
And you take stakes or you make stakes?
No, I take stakes. I have a little super light.
Metal.
I even have like a little sleeve there when I say bigger pole snaps to prepare your pole.
Oh, wow. You're going to have to send me the link to this tent.
Yeah. So, I ended up setting my tent up. That night I was like almost at 10,000 feet, and it was weird. Like I got in my tent, and I mean, I lucked out because all of a sudden, like it became a big rain, lots of wind.
And you're just hearing
crazy
it patter on there. I bet it was beautiful.
And then all of a sudden the rain stopped and it got warm, and all of a sudden there was like around my tent like a mosquitoes trying to get in. And it was the last time in my mind, like, you would think you're that high, you're not gonna see mosquitoes. It was weird.
I forgot about that. Mosquitoes are the worst.
And then I was like, why is it so warm? I mean, like I'm kind of high. It shouldn't be. But then it finally got cool. It was like, that weather was weird that night. It was
a pressure change, probably.
Yeah, I guess so. But then the rain came again. So I had 2 different times where it rained pretty good on me. But
I bet you slept great that night.
But yeah, that night was, it was good. I just kind of, you're hoping to kind of keep going, but that was kind of my shorter day.
So on night 3, how many miles had you done so far, you think?
The day 3.
Like when you're in the tent relaxing for the night.
That was the day I did the most miles because there was a part of that where for the bike portion, I was literally on a highway. And so,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, not probably something I'd rather do again, but I don't know. I really like being on the highway, but I knew that was coming. I knew it was on the trail. So, but I was able to knock out some miles a little faster since part of it was on the highway.
Yeah.
So, that day, I think 35 miles that day.
So 35, 20 something and 20 something. So you're like almost at 100 miles.
Yeah. On day 3, I definitely hit 100 miles.
Okay.
So that happened. Like I think I did a total of 125 miles.
Okay. So day 4 was a little easier.
Yeah. Day 4. So on that night 3 in that tent during the rain, I knew there was no way I was going to make it to that final destination. And so I reached out.
And that's just because of the timing, because you were trying to do it in 4 days.
Yeah. And I knew I needed to get back just like, with real estate, I had things busy, and I told my wife, I'd only be gone this amount of time. She was cool. She was such a rock star. She had always been such a big supporter. She even encouraged me, hey, if you have to do another night, it's all good. But I think I was kind of not like, no, I think I'm ready to be done. Yeah. So I reached out to the shuttle, and we agreed on she could get me at Kenosha Pass, and I think I told her 1. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could be there. I was like, I hope I'm right. And so my last day, I forgot how many miles I did, but I got to Kenosha Pass maybe 11:30 or noon.
So you just waited around time for her.
And so waited for her. And I saw a moose on that day. It was so cool.
A male with the big horns? Or?
No, I think it was a mama.
Antler.
It was they're
massive, huh?
They are. I've seen bear in the wild. I've never seen a mountain lion in the wild, but I always want to see a moose. And that was so cool.
Did it make any noise or no?
No, that was pretty far from it. Like, I didn't even see it. Another guy says, man, you see the moose over there in the water? Because I think in Colorado, if you see an area where they call it the marshy area, where there's a lot of water and stuff, that's where you can find moose.
Okay.
And like, that's good to know, because now I know kind of where to look for moose.
Mm-hmm. So more like swampy?
Yeah, which, because they don't have swamps.
Yeah, because it's not the heat.
But it looked kind of like, swampy,
like you said.
marshy area. Yeah, start looking around. You could find a moose. But someone said it was a mama and her calf or something. I didn't see that, but I definitely saw the mama. She was big. But I was pretty far away still. But at least I saw a moose.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fun.
How'd you feel when, she picked you up? Was it that time you said where you could almost cry because you were just like happy that you did it, or were you hurting, or what was the feeling?
It was weird. I was never ever in pain. It was just so exhausted because it was just, I knew it was going to be hard and I worked for it, but man, it was way harder than I thought. At first there's, something you're just like, man, this is like too hard. This is no longer fun. Oh. It felt like that.
So it was getting to that point when you got there.
I think, yeah. And so, I think every day I kind of was experiencing that. I was like, oh, this is a little too hard kind of a thing. But
you feel you needed it though, to get that recharge and kind of test your boundaries? I
just want to try it. It's like you want to try something. It's like, I've never done that. I've always wanted to try it. Sounds kind of cool. You kind of maybe, I don't know, just how you picture it in your mind. This is how, but now I've had time to kind of decompress, and I'm so glad I got to do that.
Yeah. What do you think about it now?
Really grateful. Yeah. So now I don't think I really want to continue to bike pack that trail. I definitely want to bike pack other trails and explore that. I think I'd rather hike that trail. That's
take your time.
Yes. I don't think I really care to do the technical downhills with all the gear on my bike and all that. And then that much hike a bike. I think if I'm on a bike packing trip,
you want a bike.
I want to be able to like pedal that thing and not have to be on and off and, hiking this thing. I want to be able to just like ride my bike. Yeah. And so, besides,
go ahead.
Besides on that trail, there's more hikers anyways. And I think I would rather continue that trail, but definitely just hike it.
What made you choose that trail?
I've always wanted to try some kind of through hike. I'm always like, you see people talking about the AT, the PCT, CDT, all these, the three kind of
big ones,
famous big ones in our area.
Are they all north-south?
Yeah,
okay.
They are, yeah.
I thought of that the other day when I was looking at the map. Because I've been nerding out on it since we've been talking about it.
Like the Arizona Trail is a popular one. There's quite a few, but that one is like kind of like that's close for us. Like
Colorado's not bad.
No,
so you drove out there, then you got that that shuttle. I mean, it's manageable.
Yeah, it's like doable. It's like
you didn't have to fly somewhere with all your gear.
Right, and it's like, and I knew I wasn't going to do the whole thing, so I knew like, well, I can just continue planning trips out there, and so I would love to be able to continue to do this trail. I don't care how long it takes me. So I think it's kind of fun to say, yeah, I've done that trail. Like I've completed the whole thing. And so, so that's what I definitely learned. Okay, bike packing was fun, but I don't think I would have continued to bike pack that trail.
That one's more of a hike.
Yeah, at least for me, that's how I feel about it. So,
did you grow up always being outdoorsy, or what? Was that later in life?
No. My first time in the backcountry, it was 2016. I got invited on a trip. We were doing like Guadalupe National Park, and I laugh now.
Where's that again?
It's in West Texas. It's a beautiful area. It's like the highest point in Texas. And I got invited on a trip, and I had like a like a school backpack, and I had a water bladder. I had like a hostel bag, and no sleeping pad. You'll do that one time. And I lost all my toenails on that trip
from your shoes.
Yeah, I didn't have the right shoes. All the things you learn, you kind of like, you only do once, you won't do again. But after that, I was hooked. I mean, got into the gear. And
your friends just invited you out there? Or?
Yeah, two guys were going, and one was inviting me along, and didn't know really quite what I was saying yes to. But it was an awesome trip. We even, on our way back, we even did, I'm forgetting. It's a canyon outside of Amarillo. It's the second biggest. Yes, yeah. We camped out at Polidoro.
I gotta pause you. You were saying earlier, but I don't know if we were recording or not, like how important heritage is. That's historic Comanche land.
Really?
So I go out there for a lot of stuff.
Man.
The first time I saw it was just a couple years ago. But my grandfather right there, Quanah Parker, the last Comanche chief, he had a lot of history in that canyon.
Really?
Yeah,
It's
so
big
that's
too.
historic land that you're in. Like, obviously, because it's a canyon, but
Yeah.
that's a beautiful place, and a lot of people don't know. I went and did an overnight there. Or
I didn't know that, what you said.
Mhm.
So.
I went out there on my motorcycle.
Oh, really?
Yep, I drove my motorcycle out there, camped on the canyon floor.
Oh, sweet.
It was nice.
Yeah, it wasn't planned. We were just driving, and we're like, let's check it out. And
It's gorgeous.
they said it was full, and as we're turning around, like, oh, hey, we got a spot open. And yeah, it was like, I want to go back.
Yeah,
I don't think I care to camp there in the summertime
No.
because the rattlesnakes.
yeah, and
But,
the heat in general. It's like
and the heat.
112,
Yeah,
115.
yeah.
I think it was late fall. So
Okay.
maybe not late fall because it was still 90s. I think it may have been like September-ish
Okay.
when I went. And the thing that was cool is I left. There's ways to get there, obviously. I could have just went down I-40 to Amarillo and went south.
Yeah.
But Comanche and Caddo are the tribes I am. And they're kind of from southwest Oklahoma. It's Texas, other states too. I could go into that. But I went to my aunt's house who lives outside of Altus in a place called Duke, which is very far southwest Oklahoma.
Okay.
So I went over there and then left early in the morning, like 5 a.m. So I was going through all this old cattle land for like 3 or 4 hours on my motorcycle at 6 and 7 in the morning. I didn't see any
cool.
cars, maybe one or
nice.
two, and got to go the back way into Palo Duro.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I'm glad you said that because it's a beautiful place. And my wife and I actually were going to New Mexico last year, and we stopped in Palo Duro at this place called Miras Adventure Park. So there's the Palo Duro National Park.
Yeah.
A little east of it, just a little bit, is this Miras Adventure Park. So it's still Palo Duro Canyon, but it's not the proper part that they have.
Okay.
And it's a place for four-wheeling.
Oh,
so
cool.
you could take your Toyota out there and do mild stuff.
Okay.
Or you could get harder and harder. But we went out there, camped on the top of the canyon, and I got to see the sunrise right there. And
Oh,
all
nice.
that. So I think you should check it out. Maybe, I don't know if you want to do that in your car, but they did have mild stuff that I was doing in my Jeep, and I drive a Grand Cherokee. So
Oh, sweet.
it worked.
Yeah, when I was out, even on this trip, I saw, I think it's a motorcycle, but it's like a trail bike.
Yeah.
And these guys, they had gear on there,
yeah,
like
they're
an
kinda
exterior
taller
gas
bikes.
tank. Yeah, and I saw them. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Just to be able to do your adventure on your bike.
Yeah, do you know Eric Pero?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so he's in real estate. He's a real estate investor. And he probably has tons of other titles, but he's a great guy. And he does a lot of those long-term motorcycle trips. So he was on one not too long ago where they were going through all types of mountains and things like that. So
Yeah.
it may be something worth checking out.
Just going to be gone for days on your bike.
Yeah, because it's similar to the bike packing.
Yeah.
Except you get a little throttle.
Yes. Yeah. You're not pedaling or hiking that bike.
Yeah.
I would hope not.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to, what is it, hike a bike?
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to hike a bike,
I don't think you could do that. No way. God, that would suck.
What do you have planned next? Do you have one planned or no?
No, I don't. Honestly, so we try to car camp like as a family.
It's so fun to car camp.
I love Northwest Arkansas. So I'm wanting, really what I want to do, it's on my mind, is I want to go with my boys, and there's other guys I know that have the boys the same age.
How old are your boys?
8 and 10.
Okay.
And there is a trail in Arkansas. I heard it's a loop, and when you get to the half the loop, you're around a lake, and so I've always wanted to try some kind of backpacking thing with them.
Mm-hmm. That'll stick with them forever.
I haven't wanted to like, take them above the tree line or the mountains yet. I would love to, but it's like, man, once you get out there and you're just like, you can't really call for help, and it's funny how, like, I know kids are so different. Like, I feel like sometimes my younger one could probably handle it versus my older one, because they're just everyone's different. But this one, I feel like we could do this successfully, because I've always wanted to do something with them, but I wanted to know that this would be a successful trip. Like, we made the camp spot, we camped out, had fun, and hiked back to the trucks. So, and I thought if we went with other people that they kind of know, some peers.
Well, 2 dads and 4 kids, that's a good group.
Yeah.
To where they're going to learn a lot, not only about just having fun out there, but there's going to be life lessons that stick with them. Like the podcast, how to keep going. Yeah. But how to work hard.
Yeah.
And getting a reward from it. Because watch how they're going to just smile when you're making that backpacking dinner and they're
Yeah.
just ready to eat.
And just to, I don't know, just have that kind of a journey. But anyways, I think it's called the Pigeon Trail. Could be bombing that. Anyways, but I had a guy tell me about it. You might check out that trail.
You definitely have your bear spray out there.
Probably so. Of course, we'll make lots of noise. But
That
yeah.
was the first bear country I hiked in.
Oh, really?
It was Northwest Arkansas. And what's funny is that was the time. So usually I'm a prepper, like what you're talking about, because I know you had to prep a ton to make this successful. And
Yeah.
there's other stuff you could have done, but you had to prep to make it successful.
Yeah, it honestly, it was a little overwhelming getting ready for this because I was bikepacking. I think if I was hiking, it wouldn't have felt overwhelming. But
you were thinking like, what if I get a flat tire? What if I...
oh man, I had to do a tubeless setup. I didn't know I didn't know much about that. I mean, I knew that's what you do. And all your your repair stuff, the tools you need in case you repair your bike.
The handlebars.
Oh yeah,
I
I had a chain brake tool. I had all the tools I needed. Like that's what, even like learning this thing. Like I probably had the best attitude about it because like I didn't want to learn it. When you buy something like, and just someone to show me how to do this thing.
Yeah, you had to go down YouTube University to see how to use
real.
it. Right?
Yeah. So it was that just like, but it was fun. So
what I was gonna say is, I was with my friend. His name's Brandon Rochester, and we were hiking in Northwest Arkansas. And like I said, usually I'm a prepper, so I make sure to have my food, my water, everything I need, just because I know how real it can get.
Yeah.
So we did a mild hike. Found a really cool stream to sit by and got to relax. It was awesome. But we got done really early in the day. And he was like, you want to try one more? And I was like, I'm down. But we had already kind of ate most of our food and things like that. But I was like, if we're just doing a short, I think it was 4 miles.
Okay.
It was like short. I'm like, we can do 4 miles with just water and snacks, just walk in, walk out. But just like people say, when you're looking at the All Trails map or All Trails app, a lot of times like 4 miles may be 4 in, 5 out, 4 in, 4 out, something like that. So we go and we're like, dang, this is really long. And we ended up getting really deep in the woods and the sun was starting to set a little bit. And we're getting tired and I finally get service and I look up and I say, man, it's 6.5 miles to the car.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. And I was like, dang, like this is rough. Like it was so rough that snack wise, I had a large carrot from our ice chest and a little water.
Okay.
Because everything had ran out. So I was like, man, here's half a carrot. I'm going to save this little bit of water till we're struggling and then I'll half it with you. Like we were having to get real on it.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up walking back down the mountain, had to walk on a dirt road because in Arkansas it starts winding up. And it was so terrible because it'd go down, up, down, up. And so you're just burning.
Yeah.
The sun's setting, phone's not working. So that was like my first time it was like scary. Where I'm like, oh, we gotta push through. We gotta push through.
Right.
That's why I asked how you felt when they picked you up at the trailhead to go home, because literally no one would stop for us. And then there was a young kid. He was younger than me. And I was like, hey man, I'm sorry to bug you. Like, can you take us to our car? And he's like, where's it at? And I showed him and he was like, of course.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Me and my friend Brandon are sitting in the back of this Toyota Tacoma in the truck bed. And of course, 2 miles in a car takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're just riding down and I'm like, sometimes you don't know that type of relief.
Yeah.
Like we're like 10 miles in, no resources. And then this guy picks us up and takes us back to our car. So it's just funny, like the ups and downs you can go through. And for you to do it by yourself, I bet that's fulfilling and like interesting to look back on.
Yeah.
There are probably times you're like, man, this sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I think at any trip. So the first time I had a trip where, you came back and we didn't summit. And it's like everything sucked. And I mean, I'm walking back to the car thinking, this sucks. I'm selling everything. Never doing this again. You're just because you're just emotionally tired. And of course, 2 days later, I'm like, I'm ready for the next trip, know? Yeah. And, but yeah, I've definitely, that's happened once before where you just you laugh about it.
When you look back, you're like, well, that was on me.
Yeah. I had another one time where everything we were doing because of the weather, everything got derailed. And we ended up doing Mount Ouray, which Mount Ouray is almost a 14. You're like,
that's in Colorado.
You have town Ouray, but Mount Ouray is near Salida, and it's about 40 feet for being a 14er.
Oh,
And
wow.
so often when you do a 13er, there's not really like a trail per se. It's just like there's a top, you kind of figure it out. And this one was pretty much 50% scrambling. So I'd have the best attitude because that day was, the pictures were stunning because it was all snow cap. We started our trek on snowshoes.
Oh.
And so we're scrambling pretty much. And because I have the best attitude, I'm like, I can't breathe. And I laugh about it because once we got to the top and we set up, I'm like, all of a sudden I can breathe. I'm like, happy camper. I'm like,
But
okay.
you're even higher.
Yes. Okay. It was all in my head. It was all good. And still this day, that trip is one of the better ones because the weather derailed everything. We ended up doing a different mountain. The pictures are ridiculous. And it has this amazing story. So
isn't it interesting how your attitude can play such a part? Because if you have a bad attitude, then your fingers hurt. You can't breathe.
Yeah.
Oh, my shoes are tight. Oh, my leg is a little sore. It's all these things that it's trying to just get in your head.
It is.
And then when you take a step back, like one time my wife and I were kayaking and it got really windy and kayaking's all upper body.
Yeah.
And she was the one that taught me that in that moment. Like, she was like, this sucks, but we got to get back to the car. And I was like, yeah, I need to stop being a bitch because you just got to keep going. Like, you're like, no, it's okay. Even if it's an inch at a time.
Yeah.
We ended up having a great time.
If you went, when she kind of, they call it embrace the suck.
Mm-hmm.
If you just embrace it, it really changes everything.
Bad.
It's not that bad. It really,
no, it's not that bad. It could be so much worse.
Like you're out there in the woods. Of course, it's going to be, there's parts it's hard and, but just embrace it.
It wouldn't be the same if you walked out there and it was like walking around Hefner Lake.
Yeah.
You'd be like, this sucks. Why am I on a sidewalk?
Right.
But then when you're scrambling, I remember the first time my friends and I went to the Wichita Mountains, Comanche Land as well, that we go to a lot. We did Mount Scott, but you either have to walk up the street or scramble.
Okay.
So we just scrambled. And it was so hard that at first I was getting kind of discouraged because they don't have a trail. And I may be wrong, but I don't think they have a trail for Mount Scott. I think it's just the road that goes to the top. And then you can just climb the side.
Yeah, I've been there once.
So it got real difficult. But I remember getting to the top with them and being so happy. And then another place, I know it's a little more mild compared to what you've done, but if you do go to the Wichitas, what I would recommend, especially if you take your boys, if you're trying to do something light to prep them, is go a little deeper into the refuge. So Mount Scott's at the front. You'll go deeper and past Quanah Parker Lake, and then you'll go past that about 10 more minutes, right after like the prairie dog fields. And there's Elk Mountain, which is kind of close to the area that they do allow backcountry camping. They'll give you like a permit. There's only 10 people allowed or something. Oh, cool. No fires, anything like that. But that Elk Mountain is very manageable and it's good for entry level.
That's cool. Yeah.
So you may check that out.
Never heard of that one.
Well, you'd only have to drive an hour and 20 minutes to get to Lawton.
Right.
And because it's actually, to the refuge, because it's actually closer than Lawton.
Okay.
And then you go deep in, like I said, about 20 minutes. Pull over. There's Elk Mountain. There's a couple different trails. There's a beautiful staircase that's like made out of the earth, pretty much.
Well, how far? Like how long is the hike or whatever?
Only a few miles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of how you make it too.
Yeah.
I think the trail is probably only 3 miles in, 3 miles out.
And you actually have a little bit of elevation you get up?
A little bit.
Oh,
a little
fun.
bit. Now, of course, at the peak of your elevation, you're only at 2,400 feet.
Still.
But you're starting at 1,100 or something.
Right.
But when you get to the top, there's a lot of options at the top where you can go to different boulders.
Yeah.
Look at different parts of the refuge.
Oh, that's okay.
My friend, so my wife and I go there a bunch, but I've taken friends there that don't hike as much. So, Tez.
Yeah.
He doesn't hike that much. I took him there, and it was good to get him an entry level, and he still talks about it. But one time I went with Rochester, that guy I was telling you about, and I surprised him. So we get to the top, right? And it was a perfect day. You know when it's cloud cover, but it's not bad weather?
Yeah.
So it's not hot. It's not super cold, but it's just like nice. We get to the top, and we're eating our snacks or whatever, and he's like, man, I really appreciate you bringing me up here. This is awesome. I was like, I got something else for you. I reach in my backpack and pull out my chess set because we play chess.
Oh, cool.
I'm not the best at chess, but with him, it's kind of equal. I went to play with Roshan. Do you know Roshan? He's an investor here. I went to play with him, and he's like an actual chess player. So
cool.
I was getting smacked. But I went up there with Rochester, and we played chess at the top of Elk Mountain.
Oh, that's
and we look
cool.
over to the west, and you just see a herd of buffalo walking by. And it's
Oh,
just
how
stuff
cool.
that you won't get everywhere, and it's
Right.
nice to have a slice of it sitting here in Oklahoma an hour and a half from you.
Right.
So you may check it out. And if
That's
you have
cool.
questions, I'll help. But
Yeah.
it's very easy. There's a trail. There's water.
That's cool.
Now,
Like-
the summer, you'll see some snakes. But if you go in the fall when it's cooling off, you'll see beautiful birds, hummingbirds, buffalo. You may see prairie dogs.
Like, man, I have been in the area once. And Harry, it's funny you bring up that area. I've got a couple. They're moving here.
Mhm.
And they've got a home under contract. But that's where they're coming from, is the Lawton area.
Yeah.
And I've often thought, man, that'd be kind of fun to actually just list their house as well. I know it's a little of a drive, but just for the story's sake of it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And it'd be nice for your kids for a day trip,
Yeah.
because it'd be easy for them.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, oh, no, I like backpacking.
Yeah.
Because we just went up there, had lunch, and came back. Instead of maybe like struggling a lot or something.
Like, I can't tell how many times we've car camped as a family. We're definitely got below freezing
Mhm.
for a few times. But I was
What's the
like,
coldest you got into, you think? Because I've got a funny story for you.
with our family or by myself?
Family first and then by yourself.
Okay, I think 26 for the family.
And you're car camping, so you're sleeping in the car?
No, we're in a tent.
Tent.
Yeah. So,
That's pretty cold.
it is cold. So, man, that night in Ouray, I think that's the coldest I've ever been. And I don't know what it was, but all I know, everyone was cold. So,
It's pretty funny, like, what you can withstand, though, and how much or how important gear is. Because sometimes you'll be in that cold weather and you're like, wow, I'm actually not too bad.
Mm.
Now, backpacking is different. The coldest I got to was when I was hunting with my dad in Pittsburgh County, which is southeast Oklahoma, where it gets a little mountainous. There's bears, things like that.
Yeah.
I think it got down to 13 or 16 degrees.
Yeah, that's cold.
And, well, I had a luxury, though. Since we drove down there, I wasn't carrying everything on my back.
Okay.
So my setup was, they were sleeping in a camper. And they're like, and it's funny because you'll know this with your sons because they're young now. But, you know, my dad's older. I'm in my 30s. But he was still like, hey, son, if you get cold, you come in here. Like, he was looking out for me.
Yeah.
But we drove down there. My setup, since I didn't have to worry about weight, is I had a thick utility tarp.
Okay.
I laid that on the ground. I put my tent, which was just a $30 Walmart tent.
Yeah.
And then inside, I had an air mattress, you know, like the skinny, cheap $15 ones from Walmart.
Yeah.
Stuff that you won't get for backpacking, but you will get if you're loading it all up in a truck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I took a single, like this, air mattress. You know those U-Haul mover blankets?
Yeah.
I have a couple of those from when we moved in here.
Okay.
They're a game changer in the cold. So I wrapped that air mattress in a wool blanket, set my 0-degree bag on top, and then had a thin little fleece blanket from Walmart
you were good.
inside.
Yeah.
And it was like 13 degrees. And I have pictures where it's just snow everywhere. And my dad was freaking out, like thinking I wasn't going to make it. And I was like, I'm surprised that it was comfortable. Now, getting up in the morning was funny. So I get up in the morning and you know, your eyes wake up and it's 5 in the morning or 4
Yeah.
something. Because when you're hunting, you have to be out early. So I wake up and there's just cold air coming out. And I'm like, it's going to be rough as soon as I unzip this bag.
Yeah.
Because you don't sleep in much because you don't want to sweat. And
Right.
There's a lot of things you got to think about. So, man, I unzip that sleeping bag, hop out, throw on my thermals, get out of the tent, run to the fire. You know how fires work when you're at a campsite. There's got to be a couple coals left.
For real.
So I moved over. There was a couple coals left. I grabbed a paper towel, rolled it up, threw it in there, started blowing. In about 30 seconds, I had a fire going. Took my coffee, sat it on there to heat up. I'm just sitting here like this.
Nice.
And got my coffee going and was off to hunt. But when I think back of the times I've done things like that, that's one of the ones that stick out because I was like, I could have easily got out, went to the camper, been with the guys with the heat on.
Right.
And I was like, no, but this cheap gear, as long as you're prepared.
Yeah.
You can
Honestly,
really go
you
a
probably
long way.
slept good because, you know, you're kind of out in the cold. I don't know. I enjoy it.
I like
When I know it's going to be really, really cold, whatever I plan on putting on in the morning goes down the footbed of my sleeping bag or quilt, whatever. It goes in there because then it's kind of warm at night.
Oh.
And something else that really does work if it's it's been cold, if you can warm up some water in an Nalgene bottle or any kind of bottle and stick that at your foot bed area or a toe box, whatever. It really, I don't know how it works, but it like helps add to the warmth.
I didn't have any Nalgene bottles, but I had some hot hands.
Okay.
And I put them in socks so it wouldn't burn in my sleeping bag.
Right.
And I just took 2 of those and threw them in my feet.
Yeah.
And then while I was going to bed, because when you're going to sleep is the hardest part. It's like when you're asleep, you're asleep.
Yeah.
And I had one in a sock on my chest.
Oh, nice.
And then by the end of the night, I was throwing the hot hands out of the sleeping bag because you get so warm.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think it takes a different type of person that wants to embrace that.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how fun it is.
Yeah.
Like getting out and starting that fire and grabbing my cast iron skillet and hurrying up and making some bacon and eggs to wrap up in a tortilla before I take off.
Right.
Like, some of the coolest.
It's all part of the adventure, you know?
Man. Well, I really appreciate you coming over and showing me your gear because as soon as you told me that, I think it was in May that you were like planning this trip. It may have been earlier than May. And I was like, man, I want to have you on the podcast. And I was like, wait, I'd rather have you after the after the adventure so I can kind of dive in. And thinking about it now, maybe one day we could do something together.
No, I would love that.
That'd be pretty cool.
I think, I'm always, as your mind's always going, I'm always like, oh, I'd like to do this. I'd like to do that. Like always, like I have friends who've done a rim to rim the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Always want to do that. In fact, we were there as a family. And the whole time I was there, anytime I saw backpackers, I was stopping and talk to them. Hey, how'd you get your permit? Tell me about what are you doing? And of course, I wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned so much. Like, I think when I do get to plan that someday, there was a couple I talked to how they didn't see anything available. They just called the ranger office and the ranger's like, oh, hey, we got this one available for you. And I'm like, okay, that was good to know.
Sometimes you got to just ask.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've always when you have Grand Canyon, you have the South Rim and the North Rim.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think I'd want to do a shuttle the North Rim and go north to south. Because no matter what, I want to sleep in the bottom of that canyon. Yeah. But then I know some people will do a south to north to south, so go rim to rim to rim.
Oh.
And yes, and it's a hard trail. But anyways, I love to do that. It's definitely one of the ones
I would love to too.
On my wish list to do. Yeah.
We saw the Grand Canyon for the first time this year in April.
Yeah, that's
my wife and I.
That's when or was it March? But yeah, we were there in March.
Took a picture on the trail with your sons.
Yeah.
And my wife and I like to hike and stuff. And we went out there and I was like, man, that north to south that's a journey.
Yeah.
Then you see how far down you're going.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that's a truck.
Right.
That looks like a pin.
Oh, for real. I still, when we were up there, we saw a helicopter look like it was nothing.
I was like, oh, that's far.
But even now that I've been up there, like, I want to do even more. I'm like, would love to do.
Well, there's probably parts in there that are just unreal with the water and the river going through and the different rock formations and the stuff that people don't normally see. And
what I've learned is from just really talking to so many different people. I used to think that I'd want to go at the end of May, but really,
so it'd be warming up.
And the North Rim would just be open or so. But I think I'd rather go like early October. That's when I think I'd really rather do that.
I would rather go then because less snakes and it wouldn't be that cold.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine that the snakes get bad in that desert area.
I have no idea. Yeah. I just know, that bottom of the canyon gets really hot. And so, but yeah, so now that I think about it, kind of like October is kind of, you think you could get a cheap flight from here to Vegas, and then it's a 4-hour drive to at least the South Rim. So that's not terrible. So
no, or you can fly into Phoenix if you're going to the South Rim and it's only 3 hours.
Yeah. So see, I just do that.
We flew into Phoenix, which is a direct flight from here, 2 hours.
Nice.
And then it's 3 hours from Phoenix.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
Either way is good. We flew into Vegas. It was our first time in Vegas, and we only flew out there for hikes. When we tell people this, they're like, what? Like, yeah, that's what we went out there for. But we flew to Vegas. And the cool thing about Vegas is 45 minutes each direction, you can hike a different type of terrain.
Yeah.
So northeast of it is the Valley of Fire, which kind of looks like Star Wars. It's kind of crazy.
Really?
Yeah, like orange and white rocks, sand. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, wow.
So we flew into Vegas, drove there, and hiked.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went northwest, which is Mount Charleston, snow-capped mountains. Hiked to this part of the mountain where it was all snowy. Made a tiny little fire just for the experience.
Oh, cool.
Ate our lunch. We didn't need the fire for our lunch. We already had it packed, but just to have it. Then we took a little 20-minute nap on a log. Since elevation, since the sun was peeking through, it was warm right there.
Okay.
So we just sat. Then we went southeast, and it's the Colorado River, maybe. But it's a hot spring trail. It's 7 miles. So
cool.
You cross the Arizona state line barely.
Yeah.
And you start at the highway, hike in 3.5 miles. Then there's a hot spring, a big one, like size of my house, as far as going this way of hot water.
Uh-huh.
Like there was a lot of people there. And then hike through that, and it's another 3 miles back to the car.
Okay.
Now that one's a little harder because it is that pea gravel.
Right.
And it just sucks the energy out of you while you're walking because it's like...
It does, yeah.
And it goes hot, cold so fast because you're going from sun to those canyon canals or whatever they call it, where where you're walking, you can't see far because it's turning. So then it gets cold and it's hot and it's cold and it's hot. But maybe that's something you could check out.
But yeah, every time I've always thought of Vegas, I'm like, well, I'd want to go there for the food, but then I want to go there to get out of it, to go explore what's around it.
Those 3 places were no further than an hour from Vegas.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah, I think I've only been there once, but it was in the airport. So it doesn't really count, but yeah.
That hike for the hot springs is right south of the Hoover Dam.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Man, I'm going to wrap up, but I do want to ask, I always ask my guests.
Yeah.
You got any questions or anything for me? Sometimes I'm the one rambling.
So. No. I do. I appreciate this. I think we've only met really one time, for coffee. And so.
I feel like we've been pretty connected since that day.
Yeah. No, it's cool. So I was really grateful just to get to connect with you because I feel like we're an agency that's kind of blowing up a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And, we have our gatherings, but so to meet with coffee or something like this, mm-hmm. This is really nice.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm glad we're a part of Copper Creek Real Estate together. And
yeah.
I'm glad that not only are you in real estate, but you're a great person as well.
Thank you.
And it means a lot to me to have these type of conversations because I feel like I'm diverse with the connections I have.
Yeah.
So when I get to call you and you're like, yeah, I'll come by. And then you sit down and you're like, I have some gear. Would you want to see? I'm like, hell yeah. Like, grab your gear right now and list it out.
Yeah.
Like, this means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you.
I didn't want us to talk about real estate because I feel like we do that too much anyways. Yep. So it was nice just to not talk about that.
Yep. And well, that's usually where it goes, even with some of the guests I have that are real estate focused.
Yeah.
We'll dive into it. But I'm just such a big component of living a happy life that I'm always interested in what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Hobbies, things like that, they mean the world to me.
What's funny, so I can tell how you're dressed, I think, is probably how you're dressed around your clients.
Yeah.
And this is me. And like here I
want them to accept me. And I wear sandals every day. I got some Keens that I wear every day.
Yeah. I mean, last year, I laugh now, but it was my first cash deal on a house. And I'm like, I don't think these people ever saw me in shoes. I laugh about it now, but I mean, I was just being me. And
that's huge to me because when I started real estate, I started in new home sales. Okay. And in new home sales, it's just so corporate.
Yeah.
So where's your suit?
Right.
Where's your etiquette? All these things.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It has its purpose.
Yeah.
But when I got into being a realtor and an investor, so a lot more free on my rules, I guess.
Yeah.
The more I was myself, the better connections I had with my clients. And something else I'm huge on, and maybe it could be a fault of mine, but no matter who I'm meeting, I want them to meet me as me and accept it. And if they don't accept it, then maybe we're just not a good match.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, I get it. If someone wears a suit because that's them, that's okay.
Yeah, when I see someone that looks nice in a suit and they like it and they look clean, like Brett.
Yeah.
I'm like, Brett, you look good.
Yeah, but that's him. There's nothing wrong with that.
To be.
Yeah. And
but I'm going to be in sandals and shorts.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, this is my dress-up shirt.
Yeah. No, I think there's something special about that because it makes long lasting connections.
Yeah.
And it also, if you are trying to get sales focused in the conversation, it helps you have realer conversations with your clients and still be professional and break those barriers down that they're going to have.
Yeah.
Where they have these roadblocks that you have to get through, whether it's a buyer or a seller.
Yeah.
Now, on just the realtor side, you may not experience it as much because they're kind of needing you for a service.
Yeah.
But in the investing side and new home side, you have to work with them because sometimes they don't realize what they're needing to accomplish. On the new home sales side, they've got all these roadblocks. On the investing side, they may have a beat up house or a great house, but the numbers are different.
Yeah.
So in order to have those tough conversations, it takes rapport.
Yeah.
And I found that the more I was me, the better the rapport was. Now, of course, you have a language you use, you have the tone of your voice, you have skills that you use, but not in a manipulative way. It's in a way of, no, this is the realistic way to help you. Whether you're my best friend or someone I've never met, I want to run you through this. Yeah. And I think that's why it makes us successful.
Yeah, I can honestly say I actually enjoy sitting open houses because I was about to walk through that door and I met some of the neatest people, and I mean had some really good deals just from meeting people at open house. And that's when they get that point where they're like, okay, yeah, hey, we want to work with you, and you don't really know each other. It doesn't take long to get to know someone well at all. And so
I'll say this: I had a listing in Guthrie. It's still it's pending now. I'm hoping to close pretty soon, but I had someone reach out to me that wanted to see it. They saw it, and then that wasn't the one for them. But since I was able to build that relationship, we've been looking at other houses.
Oh, nice.
And just 2 times meeting them to show houses, which usually show 2 to 4.
Right.
The relationship is there to where we can joke, we can be serious when needed, and you see that they care. They're like, oh, I'm sorry that all the places I want to see are far away.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. And then I tell them this, and it even clicks more. I'm like, it's been kind of nice to go on these back roads. I've taken the long way to most of our showings so I can see parts of Oklahoma I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I had to go to Guthrie, and I just took a different way than I normally take.
I've done that too, just to kind of I've seen some farmland and older areas just in the outskirts of Oklahoma City. I never would have saw that if I didn't take, because I've done that too. Just I take a different route.
I'm like, I'll be a little early. Let me take the 45-minute route instead of the 30-minute route.
Right.
Because I'm going to be early anyway.
Yeah.
So the other day when I went, I got to see some parts of between Edmond and Guthrie that I hadn't seen. I saw like a goat farm. I saw a whole bunch of cattle, but I also saw beautiful landscape up and down, trees.
Yeah, right.
So it's everything you do is for a reason.
Yeah.
I think when people break down those barriers of trying to be someone they're not and just be themselves and enjoy the journey, they get to experience this. And real estate's a really nice way to get it.
Yeah.
I think so. But man, I'll definitely get you back on here again, and maybe we can chat more. And I'd hope one day to get some backcountry time with you.
Yeah,
I think we'd enjoy it.
Definitely. I think we would have a lot of fun on a trip. So
thank you, man. Keep going.